fucking awesome.
It's some flowers, and some weeds. It's aloe barbadiensis and yellow clover.
It's cool, man. It's really cool. I like it. I love it. Okay, so we're just waiting for Steve Fife. As soon as he comes in, then we can get down. So, what's been going on, Herb?
Pretty much almost nothing at all. So,
Almost nothing?
well, tomorrow morning I gotta take my car in, and they'll have to just check it. It's acting like the electricals are getting a little tired. I may need a battery. I've had it for a few years. So,
Yeah, and you don't drive it a lot too, because sometimes when they sit around,
yeah.
they have a tendency to kind of go a little bit south.
Yeah. I average maybe, well, when I worked, I was like upwards of about, somewhere between 10 and 15,000 a year. And it wasn't on the car, it was on the truck. And then the car was just back and forth to the hospital when I worked as a nurse. The truck might go anywhere because I was doing side work for Tom Colch, and it was this or that horrible job site.
Right.
So, and they might be a little kind of far away.
And get my boom out of the shot. I think that's far enough. Okay, okay, there's Steve. Steve Fife is in the house. There he is.
I
Hey, Steve, what's happening?
Hey, we have Herb back again?
Herb is the regular dude. Herb is the barometer of the show.
is
Without
is
without
is
Herb,
is Herb your sidekick?
Herb is my he's my announcer. Herb is my Herb is my announcer slash
He's
uh
your Ed
he,
McMahon?
he's my fact checker. He makes sure that all my facts are on point, and when they're not, he'll chime in with nuggets of information that will let me know that my shit is correct. So, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see that I'm across the room?
Yes.
So what I'm doing is, you see I have the green screen behind me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what you guys see is the Brady Bunch 3 panel, right?
Right.
Well, I am in front of that panel. So let me move over here so that I'm not in Herb's head. I need to be all the way over here. Hold on. I'm doing something new tonight, guys. So, gotta bear with me. What the hell's going on? Oh, snap. got us live 3 times. That's not good. Hold on. Let me kill some of these. Delete. We don't need Steve 4. We don't need Steve 3. We don't need Steve 2. We only need 2 Steves once. Okay, now we're cooking with Crisco.
Cool.
Okay. So now, if I sit over here, bring my boom mic here where folks can still hear me, give myself some cable slack. What the hell's going on? Stealing my cable. Okay. So now I'll set over here so I can see the 2 of you because I got the 3 panel. All right. So it's probably not that easy for you guys to see me because I'm now behind the camera, but
Now I can't see you at all now.
you can't see me at all.
No,
Okay.
I mean I see where you are,
Okay.
but it's not
Well,
a.
if I scoot closer, then I cover your head, so you have to lean the other way.
I have to lead this way.
Lean that way, yeah. A little bit there. Now you're not behind me. There we go. Can you see me a little bit now, or I'm still obstructed?
A little bit.
Okay. So, I can't wait to dive into that script and read the letter. I didn't get a chance to do that because I was running all day trying to dodge.
Oh, you didn't read the letter?
No, I didn't. Because I just got back a couple hours ago running errands, and I had to get everything all set up for our thing, so I didn't have time. So I thought maybe we could just go into, kind of some teaser points, some stories, maybe some candid things that you might want to talk about that we are going to be talking about in this podcast series until I get a chance to read the letter and read the play. And
You mean about Reuben?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, I was 24 years old, so it's a while ago.
You got to dust off the old cobwebs and go deep back into the archives of.
No, that's the thing about me is I have too good a memory. I can't get anything past myself because having worked, for the New York Times and the Village Voice and all these different places, they have fact checkers and all these people who you have to be very clear on what happened when. So I really trained my memory to, to keep that extremely clear. So I do remember, really, I wouldn't say like it's yesterday, but I remember very clearly that I was writing for the Village Voice. I had written for about a year as a theater features writer, and there were no more subjects that really grabbed me to write about in the theater. Not to say that there wasn't stuff going on, and this is the late 70s.
Now, in the theater stuff, did you write about like the big shows that were going on, or did you focus more on?
No, I never wanted to be that guy who was, kind of a faux publicist, who kind of like, this is what's coming up, and so I always had a hard time getting my my pitches accepted because I did not want to write about the next new show from Harold Prince and Stephen Sondheim or other big stuff that was going on then. I wanted to write about people who I had interest in, but who were not necessarily doing any high profile thing at the time.
Right.
So I wrote about I did interviews with Lee Strasberg, Stella Adler, and Sandy Meisner, and I ended up doing one piece in which I interviewed all three of them, and then I did a separate uh, profile on Strasberg where I hung with him on the set of a movie he was making for a number of days and asked him questions and observed him and took down all the things he said. And, it was fascinating, especially now, all these years later. I mean, that was 1979. He died in 1982.
But you didn't do like even like maybe 5% of your writing with like some of the commercial stuff just to, make a few bucks or make a few.
I mean,
connects?
I did. For instance, I interviewed Joe Papp a few times when about stuff going on in the public. And I interviewed Meryl Streep and a lot of other people, but that was when they were in shows. Like the profile, it wasn't a profile of Meryl. It was, she was in this version of Taming of the Shrew that was done in Shakespeare in the Park, with her and Raul Julia. So I was there for the entire rehearsal period, literally from day one. And that's where I got to know, I was already kind of friends with Raul Julia, but I got to be better friends with him. I wish I could say I got to be friends with Meryl, but it was very hard to get close. That was the beginning of her career, and she definitely was not. There was no casual asides.
Right.
She was very careful about what she said to a member of the press all the time.
Right. Hey Herb, can you do me a favor? Can you invite Andy and some ARC people, Osa and Barry? I forgot I wanted to send an invite to them to watch this. Okay, go ahead.
Herb, you look like you're part of the background there. You look like you're kind of fading. You're emerging from a bunch of purple flowers.
Yeah, he's got that cool background.
And his face is so white. Thank you for making me look less white than you.
He's close to a screen, that's why. When he backs up, he'll be normal. But he's like right close to the screen.
He looks extremely white, and it makes me look better by comparison. That's all I care about, of course.
Well, you got the nice, soft little theater lights going at your place, because, so you got that kind of golden New York theater, after theater show lounge thing going in your crib.
That's my life. Yeah. That is really my life. I used to
love that. Man.
It's not like I have a lot of books here and then nothing in the rest of that. My whole house, my whole apartment is bookcases and books.
Yeah, no, I see that, and you probably read them all like 5-6 times. So.
Oh no, I've read some of them. I've read a good number of them, but some of them I read back in the 1970s, and I don't remember them. I just, I kept them with me when I came from New York because I thought, well, I'm going to want to read that again. And books are so expensive when you buy them new.
Yeah, but you can get all those books online, Amazon.
Well, not when I came out here. I came out here in the 90s.
Oh, so they didn't have Amazon then?
They didn't have an Amazon. They didn't have the internet. I mean, the internet was there, but it wasn't like the internet that we use now.
Yeah. No, I had a bookworm in New York, and, she asked me to help her move. And it was like, 4 flights of stairs, and she had like just walls of bookcases just like you. And I went in there and I was like, oh, hell no. No, we're not. There are too many books. Well, you got about 4,000 pounds of books and no elevator on 4 flights of a brownstone walk up. Hell to the fucks no on this one.
That sounds cool to me. I can't get used to out here when I mean, of course, now I go into nobody's house except my own. But when I used to go into people's homes and visit them, I would always look for where the books are, and there just wouldn't maybe be like a small little cupboard of books, like 20 books, and then if they had kids, there'd be books in their room, but the parents would never have any big bookcases, and it was shocking to me because everybody I know in New York, the whole apartment is built around the bookcases.
Yeah, I mean, when before I got into comedy and I started moving around a lot, I had like a half a wall of books, which was cool. But then once I started moving and touring and traveling, and then I moved from Chicago to Boston, and I literally like only had like one of those like super large cargo vans,
Right.
and so I basically got the bare necessities of my 2-bedroom apartment in that big huge cargo van, and I drove that across country to Boston. So there was like literally no room for books. No room. No
Believe
room.
me, if I went into your cargo van, I would not expect to find a bookcase. I'm just talking about when I go out of here. I mean, you know the homes out here. I mean, some of these 2 million, 3 million, $4 million homes.
Right.
Not to mention the $15 million homes. Because my daughter went to Archer School for Girls, and there were a lot of very wealthy people who who sent their kids there, their daughters there, and then they would host these fundraisers, or they'd host these get-togethers for parents or whatever, and I'd go into those homes, which were spectacular, just spectacular, and there would be no books.
So what you're saying is you're an intellectual snoop.
Totally that, yeah. I mean,
you snoop around for the books.
See,
you don't care what's in the
I
medicine
can tell,
cabinet. You don't care what's in the bedroom closet or under the mattress. You only look for the bookcases and what books are. You're
yeah,
like
I don't look in the medicine chest to
you're
see.
like a bookworm. You're like a bookworm snoop.
Yeah, to see what I can appropriate. And I don't look for books for what I appropriate, but I want to see what their intellectual interests are. And I have to say that my sense is that was not a priority with most of the homes I went into.
Well, if it's any consolation, Steve, I did manage to make some room in the van for all my porn magazines. Just so that you would know I'm not completely illiterate. They have words in those. They have some pretty interesting articles.
Oh yeah.
So just so you know, I did bring some reading material with me on my cross country move.
On that subject, I went to see Reuben Carter in prison. I got in this. I pitched it to the New York Times magazine, and they assigned it to me out of that pitch. So they were, but I was not. I was still a freelancer. So I was associated with them just for that one piece. And then I wrote the piece, and they accepted it. And then the man who had originally broken the story of the lead witness in the case recanting, his testimony, he was also the guy who wrote the book that the TV show Kojak was based on.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I love that show.
Yeah.
With Telly Savalas?
It's based on a book called The Marcus Nelson Murders.
So were all of the episodes out of that book, or did they just kind of randomly go
that
on?
was just the character of Kojak. That was one case. So, when they made it into a series,
they invented.
Yeah, I think what they did was they adapted the book into a television movie, a 2-hour television movie called The Marcus Nelson Murders. And it was so successful, and people loved Telly Savalas so much, in that character that it was then, the bought as a property. And Selwyn Rabb, who wrote the book, I don't think had anything to do with writing the TV show, but he got a lot of money because the character was his character, was based on his book.
Right.
But anyway, so he got wind that I had written this piece on Hurricane Carter, and I had written it because Selwyn Rabb had been he had been indicted by New Jersey for having what they called financial interests in Reuben Carter, and so he had been unable to write about the story because he was under indictment. Something they did only so that they could keep him out of the courtroom, so he would not be able to cover the second trial, and so the defense could not call him as a witness.
That's one of those prosecutor dirty tricks.
Oh yeah, the whole prosecution was dirty. The second trial was incredible. That was what my piece was about. My piece was about how Reuben Carter did not receive a fair trial in his second time either. The first time was unfair, and that's why he got a second trial. But then the second trial came around, and but it was in New Jersey, and the New Jersey prosecutor, whose entire career was based on having gotten a conviction of Reuben Carter. So everybody in the New Jersey case from New Jersey, they all had a lot to lose, and they felt that they had all been impugned by the New York Times and other, New York writers. So the entire trial became like New Jersey versus New York, and they used every dirty trick in the book to basically make sure it was not a fair trial, and they succeeded. And then and I got involved because it went to federal court for the first time. That Reuben Carter's defense attorneys said they could no longer go to New Jersey and expect fairness, expect objectivity. So they went to the federal court, and I went to a lot of those hearings, but ultimately the federal court simply remanded it back to New Jersey, and then in 1982, the New Jersey Supreme Court voted 4-3 not to give Reuben Carter a third trial, even though there was all this evidence that had come out from the jurors in the second trial, as well as from other participants about how unfair it was. And I'll go into this more when we have our conversation, but I actually met with I did not see the second trial. I was still in college when the second trial was going on. I read about it in the New York Times a bit, and I knew about it mainly because of Bob Dylan's song, The Ballad of Hurricane. And because of that song, I just expected him to be exonerated, and when he wasn't when he was reconvicted instead of exonerated, I was shocked, and I wanted to understand how this could have happened and what persuaded another jury to convict him.
Did you ever get any life-threatening calls or threat calls because you were like dipping into trying to figure out
No.
what happened with this?
No,
It
no.
wasn't
What
any.
I got, in fact, everybody was very cooperative at first, uh, and what I got was I ended up going back 4 times to see Ruben at Trenton State Prison, which is a maximum security prison, and one of the it's very 19th century looking. It's very terrifying building. It just looks like something out of a Dickens novel with all that stone that's kind of been blackened by time, kind of a charcoal effect on the whole thing, and it just and then I'd never been in maximum security prison before. Uh, and I had been arrested before, as I've mentioned to you, uh, for protest stuff, protesting the Vietnam War and protesting nuclear power and protesting various things. But I started, that's you just put in lockup for that in a cell, in a holding cell, and then they let you out.
I remember
And
doing comedy at Sing Sing in New York, and that was a serious institution of incarceration. It is
oh yeah,
massively intimidating, and all the doors and cages and all the stuff you got. There's like several layers that you go in. You're at a point, and you're
absolutely.
not all the way in yet, but you're in enough, and there's enough slam doors and locked things behind you that are like permanent lock, to where you feel like, holy shit, I could be stuck here, and there ain't nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. And then I still went through another couple other stages before I finally got in with the inmates. I mean, that place is designed for no escape.
Oh yeah,
No
absolutely.
escape.
Trenton State is very much the same way. And of course, there's a lot to go into. I mean, the biggest thing that the immediate impression, is that 99% of the people in there when I was there uh, were black or brown people. Um, I mean, it's so striking when when you see when I met with Ruben, it was mostly in the prison guards' lunchroom because the prison guards liked Ruben and they gave him special privileges. So I didn't have to see him the way it's always portrayed, on Law and Order or various TV shows that you're talking to somebody through a glass partition. I met with him just like I would talk to you at the York. Basically, this was a small space that was where the prison guards had their lunch, and there were a few prison guards kind of around the room. But I saw him 4 times. The first 3 times were actually very kind of congenial for prison. That is, the people, I would sign in when I got there. I would go through a metal detector. They would lead me, down a number of halls, just like you described. Doors clink behind you. They close behind you, and all of this. And then I would go. I would go to the. I would be shown where to go to get to the prison guard's lunchroom, and I would go there, and Ruben would be there already, and I would meet with him. But the fourth time I went, it was obvious that they were not happy that I was coming back. They had decided that 3 was enough, and that my coming a fourth time was
Taking
not they
advantage.
did not yeah, they did not look upon that with good favor. So I came in, I went through, I met with Ruben, but when I was leaving, all of a sudden the metal detector kept going off when I was leaving. Now I did not leave with anything that I had not come in with. So if the metal detector didn't go off when I came in, why did it go off when I was leaving?
Because they wanted to give you a keister search on the way out, just to give you
Yeah.
a
So I
taste.
kept having to, like, take off various garments and and get
Every time it went off, you just looked at it and said, "I'm not going to have to spread them, am I? Do we really have to go through this? I really don't have it. You're supposed to keister stuff in, not keister stuff out."
And I kept saying, and remember, I'm 24 years old, so I don't really know that much. I don't know what my rights are, really. But I am like, come on, this is ridiculous. He didn't give me anything. I don't have anything I didn't come in with. And the guy at the at the metal detector, the guard there was smirking in a way that made it very clear that he knew exactly what was going on, and that
it was just an intimidation tactic to make you feel uncomfortable, and to just make you think twice about coming back, because if you're feeling uncomfortable on the way out, that you're not going to be too excited to go back in again, because then they're going to really make you feel like you're going to be there for a while.
Well, and I think they said something. I think I remember them saying something when I was leaving, and they stopped just short of my, having to get, like having to strip and get searched that way. I did not have that, but it was like that was the next step, and all of a sudden I went through without a problem.
I experienced that at the bank teller. I go into the bank, and there's only $17.26 in my account, right? Mm. I go in there to pull out $10 so I can get $5 worth of gas and go to McDonald's and get me the 2 for $3 and a drink for $1. Right. So it's no big deal. So I'm at the teller, and she's like looking at the monitor, and she's like, "Huh." Now, when I'm standing there and you go, "Huh," to me, I'm like, what is the huh about? It's one thing if I had like $500,000 in there and I asked for $100,000 and I'm down $300,000 or something. You go, "Huh," that's something to do like a huh, but $17 balance with a $10 withdrawal. And then she was like, "Excuse me 1 minute, I'll be right back." She goes and gets another teller. The teller comes over. They're looking at the screen, and then she's kind of like typing in points, and then she's like, "Look," and then she goes, Now 2 tellers are at my window, looking at my monitor, both going, And then she goes and gets the manager, and the manager comes and goes, "Huh," and she does the keyboards thing, and she's typing, and they look at the screen, and they kind of like, did the thing. They kind of did the point, and she does a couple of things in, and she goes, "Okay, all right, you're good." And she leaves, and the other teller stays there for a second, and then she leaves, and then the teller takes another 2 or 3 minutes, and then asks me, "How do I want it?" It's $10 fucking dollars. I'm like, I don't know, 10 singles, 2 5s, or maybe 3 10s. Well, however you want, like.
Are you in 50s?
Are you serious? I want it in 20s, dumbass. But that whole process, it was like, why did you really have to go through all that for $10 fucking dollars on a $17 balance? $17.26. I mean, it's like everybody else is going up to the window, cashing checks, doing direct deposits, doing all this stuff, getting statements. I'm stuck there, and they're going through all the shenanigans, and I don't say anything because I made the mistake of being a little bit irritated at a bank. I won't say who it is, B of A, and they closed my account because I went into the angry black man, the customer's always right mode, and
Mhm.
and they said, you know what, I need to speak to your manager. And they're like, okay, we'll be right back. The manager comes out. I go over to his desk, and he's like, what's the problem? And I said, I ran down the problem. He goes, well, it sounds like you're not happy with us, so we're going to close your accounts. I was like, well, wait a minute. And before I could say, like, that's he had already hit the close and couldn't get it back. Once they closed the account, there's nothing you can do to get it back. You got to open another account. And it was like, oh, man, did you really? It's like, I guess I went a little too far, with the angry black man, customers always right script, and they was like, close. I was like, that was a lesson learned, man. I might be the customers always right with every other business, but I won't do that with the banks, because the banks don't fuck around.
Yeah, back when, this was, again, back in 1979, as I recall, most of the guards who were like at the front and who were involved in this whole thing were white. And it was not nearly I mean, there were guards in the lunchroom, who were African American or Puerto Rican or whatever, but not, it was a much more, it was a real black versus white feeling in the whole place. And
well, that's by design.
Well, I know, and that's what that was. I mean, Ruben's father was a church deacon, and I actually met his father at a few of the hearings. And what Ruben got from him was that almost gospel way of preaching that he, he would go off, he would get really caught up in, his sermon about how the truth will triumph, and all the lies that have put him away will be revealed, and all that kind of stuff.
Did he throw in a couple of hallelujahs in the middle of?
Well, that's all it was missing was those, and his other big thing was that prison. He always called it the snake pit, which is not, and a lot of people called it the snake pit, but that's what he would always, and it's refer to it as a place that makes criminals, not rehabilitates people. That if you come in there, a young criminal, you will leave an experienced criminal with a lot more knowledge of how to not get caught the next time, and and a lot more hatred for the system and really for people. But again, I was not a trained investigative reporter. I was kind of learning on the job, and I made a lot of mistakes. And thankfully, I didn't have to pay the ultimate price for my mistakes.
What were some of the mistakes you made?
Well, I mean, for instance, in that, you were talking about having $17 in the bank. Well, that's pretty much what I had too. I mean, I never had it. I just didn't have any money, and so to get out to Trenton, New Jersey from New York, I had to take the train, and then it was like 7/8 of a mile from the train station to the prison, but that 7/8 of a mile went through some nasty neighborhoods. Some really truly dangerous neighborhoods, not just like, middle class white guy dangerous, but I mean dangerous, like whoever you are. If you're not from the neighborhood.
I've been through Trenton. I know exactly what you went through. Yeah, it's sketch. It's sketch.
It's very sketchy. And so
the danger matches the optics. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And you have to, you know, it's like sometimes there are taxis in front of the prison, and you can just hop in one and get to the train station. But other times there aren't. And, you know, it's not like now where you have a cell phone and you have a app. I mean, you know, that didn't exist. You know, when I came out of the prison that time, that last time, there were no taxis in front of the prison, and I would have to go back in and use the payphone. And I don't think I had any money. I don't think I had any change on me, as I recall. So I walked that 7/8 of a mile, and it was the evening by then. It was dark, and I was just stupid. It was stupid of me to do that. Um, and I did not get, you know, I did not get mugged, and I made it okay. But I mean, when I look back on that later, that was just such a stupid thing to do. Uh, but you know, I've done a lot of stupid things, and you know, and I'm here. I've lived to tell the tale, so it just
Yeah,
means
I've done like the reverse of those stupid moves where I got booked to do a comedy show in like deep rural past Kokomo and Martinville, Indiana, which is the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan, and I got hired by this family to do comedy for their kids' graduation party, and it was in a barn, and you know, it was kind of a late thing. And then I did my show. It got like I hung out with the family for a little bit, and then somebody, you know, one of the uncles, somebody came in and be like, "What are you guys doing? Like you know, like he can't be out here like this late and like this. We need to like escort him back to like 31, which was the main highway, which takes you like straight up to South Bend." And I was like, I didn't even think about it. You know, it's like sometimes you forget. You get in a situation and you get comfortable and you can kind of forget about like where you're at. And then when I got ready to leave, they're like, he can't leave alone. You guys gotta escort him out. And I was like, oh snap. I just got snapped into reality that I'm like deep in the Ku Klux Klan, Southern Indiana. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, y'all need to escort me out here. So a couple of the dads got in a truck and you know, they drove me. I followed them in my car, and then I got back out to like civilization, and then was able to get home. But yeah, people go missing all the time. I mean, there's a lot of people buried in them cornfields in Indiana. It's kind of like the Vegas version of, you know, Casino and Goodfellas, where there's like a lot of people buried in the desert. Well, there's a lot of brothers buried in them cornfields in Indiana. I can tell you that right now.
Mm. Yeah, well, you live to tell the tale too, so
Yep.
good on you, man.
I think there's an angel on my shoulder because I've been in some situations where I look back now. There's no way in a million years I would ever do that again. I mean, no way, no way. And I'm talking like I did a show in East St. Louis, and you know, like being a black person that's not familiar with the neighborhood is like in danger. You don't even have to be white. It's just like you're just not somebody that's familiar. You know, as far as they know, you could be a rival gang or you could be anybody, but you're not one of us. And it's just like same thing. You know, the comedy club, you know, had a bouncer that followed me like out to my hotel, and my hotel was in St. Louis. So I drove into East St. Louis to do the gig because it was like too dangerous to even stay there at any. All the hotels were like homicide hotels with crack deals and murders and hookers and prostitutes. It was like there was no like Marriott's or Holiday Inns or any of that. It was all these like like homicide hotels with the body tape still on the.
That sounds like a Tom Waits song. Homicide Hotel.
Homicide motels. Yeah, because I was talking to another black guy, Rick Jenkins, man. He's from you know, Cabrini Green, Chicago, which is super bad, and I took him home. He had me drop him off like at the front. I didn't even go in there because he's like, you won't make it out of here. This is fine. This is my neighborhood. I know this. So even he was like, dude, when you get that gig, you better stay in St. Louis in a Marriott. Because there are nothing but homicide hotels in East St. Louis. I'm like, note to self, man, good looking out.
Well, I had the well, I wouldn't say the opposite experience. But I may have told you this before. I don't know, but when I was in, I went to this prep school, high school. But my best friend when I was a sophomore, so about I was about 15 years old, I guess, um, uh, was this black student named Willie, who had been recruited to be on the basketball team, and I went to visit him, and he lived on 119th Street and Park Avenue. And I didn't, I knew it was going to be different, but I didn't realize that 119th Street and Park Avenue was not all Park Avenue.
Yeah, Park Avenue does go up into Harlem's. You're like, hey, I'll be all right, man. I'm on Park Avenue. I'm like, wait a minute. How come all the white people get off at 125th Street? What the fuck's going
on? Well, I was coming from downtown. I was on a train, and I'm a West Side person, so I was on an East Side train. That was unusual to begin with. But then I got off, and there were no other white people who got off. And then I got up to street level, and there were really no other white people, and none, zero. I mean, it wasn't like and everybody noticed, it seemed, that there was a white guy who didn't belong there. And
one of these things is not like the other. You turned into like a Sesame Street song.
And it was literally. I mean, this guy who was about your size, and of course I'm. I would say at that point I'm probably 5'6", 5'7", around there, and skinny as can be. Really skinny, and I come out. And he comes right up to me and he says, "What are you doing here?" Which was exactly what I was thinking.
You're like, you know what? I was asking myself that same question. The fuck am I doing?
I'm going to see my friend Willie. I said his last name, and he actually, he said, "Oh, I know him." He said, "Where do you know him from?" So I gave, he went to my high school, blah, blah, blah. He said, "Okay, yeah, your story's probably true. I'm going to go with it." He said, "But I'm going to have to walk you to that apartment building because you'll never make it otherwise." And so he walked me, to Willie's building. Which was next to a bombed out looking building, and there were several, like bombed out looking buildings on the block that we, and stuff that we passed, and it was so out of the experience of anything that I dealt with on a, I mean, I guess I had seen some of that before, but only from a car going very quickly through the neighborhoods on the way to the tribe. There's a way to get to the Triborough Bridge, like, so that you don't have to pay the, you'd have to pay the toll.
Right.
You get to the other side of the bridge, and my father would always, like, when he went to, like, when he would go to, I guess it was later, we'd go to the games in New Jersey, or when we went to the Queens airports, stuff like that. It wasn't JFK then, it was like Idlewild, and I don't remember what JFK was, but which is what I was trying to think about. But anyway, we would go through some of these neighborhoods, and I remember as a kid being like, just shocked that this really was a, nobody was doing anything about this. These places were in such terrible shape. But then it's quite another thing to just, But I remember, so then I spent the afternoon with Willie, and for one reason or another, he was unable. He was looking after. It's like one of his sisters had a child, and he was like babysitting the child, which didn't really, you know, amount to his doing much except making sure nothing bad happened to her while she was taking a nap, kind of stuff. But still, he couldn't leave. He couldn't walk me to the subway station and leave her alone. So when I left his place, it was evening, and I literally, it was like wartime, and I was a Jew in Nazi territory, man. Not to put that on the people of Harlem, but I just felt that obvious, and that much danger, because I knew the only reason I'd gotten there to begin with was because, you know, this nice guy had walked me, had walked me there, and it was, it was scary. I definitely, kind of like went undercover and, and crept along the way. It was, it was, and when I got into the subway, it was, yeah, I was scared. I was definitely, um, and I could just imagine what it must be like, you know, to be a black person in the midst of a lot of hostile white people. Um, for that moment. But again, that was totally out of the context of my normal experience. Where, I mean, that, and Willie's, I mean, my friend Willie, like, cracked up by the end of the year. Um, like, it was, shocking to me. He was picked up in a raid of people, like, using smack, and I hadn't. He never told me this, and I wasn't aware of it at all. That he had all these track marks on him, but
Wow.
but I did know that he was so totally freaked out, because he was a smart guy, and he was also, he like drew, really well and had artistic things, but he was there to, he was like 6'3", um, and he was a good baller, and the school just used him so they could win basketball games, but they did not give him any sense of really belonging, and I think that's what got to him. Um, but I just remember when I was friends with him, he had like one of those really big afros, you know, one of those, Sly and the Family Stone afros. And then when I saw him in rehab, they had shaved his head, and I did not recognize him. It was so shocking to me because, of course, at that time it was the whole, the whole hair, hair was so symbolic
Yeah.
of not being part of the status quo, and then and kind of making a statement, and it was, really, again, a life lesson,
Yeah.
and that life lesson was something I definitely carried with me into the experience with Reuben Carter.
So, what's your take on where we sit now in in this curfew state, citizens unrest, Um, you know, where do you think we're headed?
Well, I'm a little bit. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful because just the last 3.5 years have been so horrendous when it came to violating people's rights and trampling on basic respect for one another. People just haven't seemed to give a shit. It's like, if it made them money, if it was good for them, then they were fine with whatever anybody else had to go through. That, like, that injustice didn't really matter to them.
Well, I think a lot of people who have made money on this administration and seeing what they're seeing now has come to the realization of what good is making a lot of money if you can't live in a society where you can enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm still jaundiced on that because what I see is, first of all, if COVID-19 had not uh, happened, um, then Trump would have been reelected. I don't think he's going to be reelected now. I really don't.
Why do you think? Why do you think he would be reelected if COVID? Because I don't think he would have, even if COVID hadn't.
Yeah, because of 3.5% unemployment. I just think that
Yeah, but
people,
that isn't everything. Unemployment doesn't define us as a nation and as a people.
yeah,
Like that
just
is
don't
that
think,
that's not just because people are working doesn't mean we are living better. It just means people have money, but their lives are shitty. Like if your life is shittier, and you've got like two shitty jobs, and the unemployment rate is down, that doesn't mean you're winning. You're still you know it's like you have to look at the whole thing. You
I'm
know.
not, Steve, I'm not arguing in favor of Trump being reelected. I'm just
No,
saying
I know that. I know that. I'm
that
just.
I don't believe the American, uh, I, I don't think the American populace would have had um, the cojones to kick him out. I just don't think so. I just don't think. Uh, I think if he was still on a hot streak, people would have continued backing him. Or I mean, he was never really on a
No,
hot
his
streak.
his
He was on a
base
perceived
his
hot
base
streak.
his base would back him, sure, but there's a lot of people who sat out the election who aren't going to this time. There's a lot of
Well,
people
I
who
know. It
who
might have been close. It might have been close. I don't know. It's never, you can't predict, but it would have been very hard to defeat an incumbent. It's hard to defeat an incumbent anyway. But it's very hard to defeat an incumbent if the economy seems to be going well.
yeah,
And
but not when you've done the things that this administrative has done. This is a completely different like
oh, I I I agree. Well, I mean, that's my point. I that's my point of view too. But I just don't
like
think.
I knew Trump was going to win simply because I knew the Bernie Bros were going to sit out. I knew that the chick that was running was going to steal a bunch of votes. I knew that the Russians were really doing a very good job of sending social media to uh, people of color, and they were very specifically targeting. Black women would get one set of videos, white men would get another set of videos, and
Well, they're still doing that. They're still doing
they're
that.
still doing it. But I'm just saying, we're a little bit savvy now thanks to the Mueller report. The people, most of us knew it beforehand, but now a
Mm,
lot of people know afterwards.
mm.
But I knew. I'm like, this guy's gonna win. You guys are going. If you guys are going to sleep, you're sleeping on this, man. They're like, wait a minute. How do you know he's gonna win? I'm saying, too many people are sleeping.
Yeah.
But
Well,
this
I
time
believe.
around, I don't think so. People aren't going to sleep this time around. You either are going to double, triple down on Trump because of what he stands for and what money he's put in your pocket, and or you're going to be like, you know what, enough is enough, and we're not gonna be the crybaby Bernie Bros. Sit this one out next time. We're gonna we're gonna get in there and vote.
Well, we'll never know. I mean, it's
Well,
my
no, we will
opinion.
know. We will know in November. We absolutely
No,
will
but
know.
that's yeah, I know, but COVID-19 has happened, and George Floyd has happened, and things have, the things have changed from what they would have been if if we didn't have the
Yeah.
coronavirus.
Well,
We
I
and
think
Trump,
we even without that, I really
it may
because
be, it
because
may be,
because
but
I've talked to some Trump voters who like are completely and totally flipping their script right now. They're like, you know, uh, I mean, I have friends who I did couldn't believe voted for Trump, and then a year later we're having dialogue, and the next thing you know, it's like, you know what, you're talking as if you voted for Trump. It's like, well, I didn't want to say, but yes, I have. And since I've come out, I've lost a lot of people. A lot of people unfriended me. I got to go off of Facebook because I'm getting attacked by all these. It's like you can't roll with all these people who are progressive and liberal and you know um, humanitarians and expect to still keep them as friends because what he represents is the complete total opposite of what your
right.
ideals are. So what did you expect? It's like you voted for him because you thought he could put some money in your pocket, and you didn't even really think about the friends and families that you were going to lose, and you didn't even really think about the people that you're going to be associated with, and those are basically the only people that you can associate with now, and you don't even like those people.
Well, as I mentioned, that's we'll never know what would have happened without the plague and everything that came with it. In my opinion, the two sides would have held their bases, and that small sliver of people, uh, I believe, would have gone for Trump again, and he would have squeaked out a win. But as it is, I believe he's going to lose by a landslide, and nobody will be happier, uh, than me that happens. I do believe he's going to try to screw with the election. He will do anything he can to try not to have an election.
Well,
Uh,
that's not going to help him at all
well,
because
I don't think so, but because it looks like the Republicans will also lose the Senate. Um, the Republicans still have the Senate, and there's a certain amount they can try to, you know, push through because of that. But I don't think they're going to be successful. I hope they won't be successful. I'm really glad that the protests uh, have become peaceful again.
yeah, I was out there um, today, and I got some video of like the peaceful protesters, and I even went up and hugged some of the National Guard because I figured why not.
Hmm.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull that on my phone. Let's see, how can I do that? Um, see if I can pull it up so you guys can see it.
Oh, by the way, uh, Stephen, do you think that
Which Steven?
they're going to?
Oh,
Oh,
you call me Kimbrough. Okay, my bad.
uh, do you think that they'll have to evict Trump? You know that they're going to have to send in the marshals. He's going to insist and insist that the election was stolen and would refuse to leave the White House.
It depends on if he loses by a landslide. I don't believe he'll try that. I don't believe he'll. I don't. I just don't believe if it's a close election. Yeah, I do. I do think he'll try to pull something like that.
But the thing is, if he's lost one way or the other, there is kind of a kind of an ultimate little thing there. If he loses, and or if they do something that stops the election, he can't stay. What happens in the end? I think that he and Pence would still have to leave, and it would for a brief time until they can make the election put Nancy Pelosi in the White House.
Yeah, well, that's how the Constitution is written. The people have to seat a president through an election. There's no other way you can become president at all, period, point blank. It has to be an election by the people. So there's no martial law, forfeiting, sticking around, creating a war. There's nothing you can really do that will justify you staying in office for anything.
By the way, state governors can institute martial law in a state, but a president can't institute martial law, except there is still that the Insurrection Act, but even then it's not he still can't do martial law. So that's a state thing. So it's kind of
well, one of the things in the news this evening was that the New York Times published an op-ed by the right-wing Senator Tom Cotton calling for the army to take over the country, basically, to quell all the protests.
Well, Tom Cotton is a fuckhead.
Yes. Yes. I mean,
he's supposed to have graduated from law school, but he hasn't a clue. I think he's kind of a lawyer, but he doesn't appear.
Okay, this is
okay.
All right, let me see if I can grab.
Sorry about the F word. It just sort of burst.
We've been saying F words on all these shows. I'm finally glad you cut loose on one. Herb's been PC for like 3 months, and all of a sudden he's into this one. All right, can you guys see that video?
I see the clips, and are you gonna? Which one you gonna play?
I'm playing it now. You can't see it?
No.
You don't see the video?
All I'm seeing are the clips.
All I'm seeing are photographs.
Oh, okay. Stand by.
I'm seeing the files with a thumbnail for each.
Okay. Hold on. Let me try to make this work. All right, so now what do you see? Oh, wait a minute. I gotta share it. Hold on. Stand by. I forgot. This is my first rodeo, guys, so gotta bear
I
with
thought
me.
that I've never heard it. I've only heard it said it's not. When people say it's not my first rodeo.
I threw you a curveball, huh, Steve? Okay,
You did.
All right. Can you see it now? The videos that's on the screen?
I can see see it full screen, but it hasn't. You haven't
Yeah,
played.
it's not playing.
I'm not playing it yet. Okay, stand by.
You have to click on the triangle.
Yeah.
There you go. It's going in about 3 frames.
Okay, so this is Sepulveda. This is Sepulveda and Ventura, right by the 405 and Fairfield Mall. So I went to get me some El Pollo Loco, which is right down the street. Well, the other way, it's this way. And I saw all the honking and the horns, and I heard them yelling, "Go Justice, no D, go Justice, no defense." And I got closer. It was no justice, no peace. I was like, oh.
Right.
I thought this was like a Super Bowl rally.
I have to say that it just kind of looks like a typical rally. I don't see anything that it's nice to see people carrying cardboard and signs.
I was the only black dude out there. There were no black people there.
That's weird.
I was like the token Black Lives Matter. They should have took the F off and just put. They just should have put a Black Life Matter because I was the only brother out there.
Yeah, well, having lived through the the '60s and having seen some reforms happen and others not happening, that I definitely get a certain deja vu feeling about what's happening now. Because what goes on is that people feel in their hearts that the time has come for things that they were dreaming about happening to finally really happen.
Yeah.
Because people start talking about them, and people who have the power to do something publicly encourage the passage of legislation.
Well, I think that's what has to happen. Legislation on a national level, and every state has to adhere to it.
Yeah, well, this is the United States of America, and we don't have the only thing that every state has is like an Arby's or a McDonald's. It's otherwise it's hard for people to agree on anything. But that was the thing about what happened to George Floyd is there's never been a case that was so clear cut of homicidal police brutality.
Oh, Kimbrough, there's your little African American lady.
Yeah, I saw that. So there's two of us. There's two.
Yeah.
There's 2 chips and 1 cookie on the whole dozen. See what I'm saying? You got young people out there that's holding up the vote sign. So, the Bernie bros aren't going to sit this one out.
Hug? Can I get a hug? Can I get a hug?
Come on, who wants
I take nothing for granted with American politics.
Be safe out there.
But in the last few weeks, things have turned. I mean, there has been a change. There has been a see change in the
Yeah, no,
attitude.
I think we're gonna definitely see a change. Yeah, I think we're gonna see a change for sure.
Well, great, because we need to see a change.
Anyway, that was my
Yeah.
that was my protest experience for 2020. So I even hugged the National Police, man. So you know you can't say I'm not out there trying to make a change.
Good for you, my brother.
Yeah, I was actually gonna take my microphone out there and do some interviews and find out like what are they doing as far as change in policy, because it's okay. This is one thing being out here and flashing signs, but you know if 98% of the people don't take this serious, you know what else? What's your follow up? You know, go back and be racially compliant, complicit, or are you actually going to, you know, put some policies in place and write your congressmen and your senators and vote for the right people, and you know where does it go from here? And I think you know just from looking at some of these kids out here and you know seeing a sign that says vote, you know that's from the same group that sat out the last election.
Hmm.
So
Well, I mean, it's not the same group. I mean, the comparable group of people who were 18 and 19 and 20 back then. Yes, these are different people. These are different kids.
These are fresh new ones. And the thing about the last election was that whole thing hung on the what do you call it, electoral college, and
Yeah,
Hillary won. She actually, in the end, passed 3 million votes ahead of Trump,
I know.
but and you still lost. And the thing about that is because of the electoral college, even if they have if they have a maximum uh, minority turnout, in places like Texas and some other southern states, uh, he could still win and lose by 8 million votes. 8 million votes is what it takes, to break over the top of the electoral college when everything else is wrong. That's the danger of it. And so they really have to get turnouts in those very states that Trump won, where he got the presidency by 77,000 votes
Well,
while
I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't think it's going to happen.
yeah. And so this time it could very well happen, but it would actually, but it's going to be a landslide. And what we're hoping here is that the Republicans have hung themselves so badly that it'll be a couple of generations before they get their next presidency, and by then they'll be a completely different party.
Right.
And there are Republicans that are hoping for that, though there are a few monsters in the woodwork. One of them is the surviving Koch brother, and
Right.
and he had to give you a small example. He has a little foundation. What this foundation does, he's working very hard to guarantee the continued use of petroleum as fuel. So he fights tooth and nail in every state and every city where there are public transportation projects going on. They actually they're the ones that put up the money, for all these lawsuits. And they had this whole high-speed train thing in California.
they're the ones who killed that.
Well, that's what it isn't killed yet, but they are trying. And some of the propaganda absolutely flames. One of them is it has all the weird horse people, like out in Shadow Hills and all that, where the thing is going to cut through the mountains. They have this big rave going that all the people are going nuts there because the trains are going to scare their horses. And then, of course, if you watch a travelogue and you see France and you have that très grande vitesse in France that goes by at nearly 300 miles an hour, and there's all these horses and cattle in the fields, and they don't even look up.
Yeah, well, they adjust. Horses and people, they adapt like everybody else. Once 4 or 5 of them go by, then they're like, you know what? I ain't even messing with that train. I don't give a shit.
So, anyways, it might even, and the vibration might even make the milk better and make those poor cows go. And then they'll think, well, that didn't last long enough.
Herb with the jokes. All right, guys. Well, we're like 20 minutes over the deal.
Mm-hmm.
Again, time flies, and we're having fun chopping it up. And it's always a pleasure, man, kicking it with you. And when we meet again, I think we should do this again next week. That'll give me time to read the letter, read the play, and get a couple of tapes.
That'd be great.
Transcode it, and I can pull some of those into the show, and then you can give us kind of play-by-play on
absolutely
what's been said and where you were at the time and where he was at the time. You got, because you were across the table from him, you can give us some insider on it, and we'll just take it, step by step, and you can give us some play-by-play behind the scenes.
Sounds good.
All right,
look forward
cool.
to it.
Herb, always a pleasure. Thank you for being the Pod Brother sidekick. He's my Ed McMahon of Pod Brother Nation. So, and Steve, stay well, stay healthy. It's always great to see you, and it's great to hear about Reuben Carter. I want to hear more about it, and I want to see if I can find some videos of his boxing too. Maybe I can pull into the show.
Oh yeah, there's some stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, so I think I'm gonna research some of that as well, so people can kind of put the sports, because June is sports month.
Especially his first round knockout of Emil Griffiths was that's what really put him on the map, because everybody expected him to lose to Emil Griffiths, and instead he knocked him out in the first round.
Yeah. Well, he was no joke. He was the
no,
real
but he
deal.
lost 4 of his last 5 fights. So so that kind of took down, his ultimate record was not as good as the percentage of it as you would expect. I mean, at one point I think he was like 25-1, but then he lost like 4 out of 5 fights. So he ended up like 28-6 or something, or which is still good, but it's just not, it's not Rocky Marciano type good, or or Muhammad Ali, that kind of amazing.
And I don't know. I also kind of disapprove of that as a sport, because I took care of a few prize fighters in the hospital, and they get their brains scrambled.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
no, it's
Reuben,
there's a certain amount of danger with a whole lot of sports, but that one is totally geared for like the head. Blows to the head as the sport's not good. And
the whole point of the sport is to damage your opponent's brain. So knock him out.
that's the idea.
well, it didn't happen to Reuben. Reuben was very lucid. Unfortunately he died of prostate cancer. that's something that gonna happen. That's not boxing related, but he was an interesting thinker and had an interesting perspective on things. So I'm I hope people get to hear it from his own mouth.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to dive into it. So we're gonna open up a can of Reuben Carter whoop ass on this podcast microphone. So buckle in, everybody. All right. So
Okay.
where can we find you, Steve? Are you on the World Wide Web somewhere, somehow? Facebook, Instagram?
I'm on Facebook. It's Steve Fife. I'm on Instagram. Same deal. I am yeah. I'm on SL599 at hotmail.com. I'm around.
Cool.
I'm accessible, as they say.
Well, I'm not even going to ask where we can find Herb, because you can find Herb on Pod Brother Nation every night. So
Definitely.
he's easy to find.
Photographs, go to lomography.com, and I have about 9,000 of them there. And the easiest way to find me is to just Google Herbert-4, and what'll somewhere in the first 4 or 5 answers, I'll be under, below the Herbert 4 turret lathe, but I'll be there on that first page on lomography, and I'm got that position because it's been there for about 15, almost 15 years, and so I'm popular.
Nice.
And,
See, I got a star on my show, Steve. You didn't know that. You thought I was the celebrity, but no, I'm the sleeper. Herb is the celebrity.
I'm popular in places like Austria and Poland, and maybe a bit in. Actually, I think I have a fan on Spitsbergen, of all places.
Nah, I'm popular in Papua New Guinea, so who gives a shit?
I'm not popular anywhere.
You're popular in your own head. All right,
Not
guys.
even there. Not even there.
Thanks a lot. It was fun tonight, and looking forward to chopping it up again. So you can find me, podbrother.com. You can find everybody that I like, love, and can stand on podbrothernation.com. And thanks a lot for hanging out, and we will be back again. So if you want to watch the replay on this, you can go to podbrothernation.com, hit the watch this, and then you'll see a menu of all the past shows that we've done. And we've accumulated enough shows to where there's multiple pages you can scrub back to your favorite shows. And some of them are glitchy, and some of them, need a little bit of some fixing. And at some point, I'm going to go back through and retool them all. But you'll get to see them right now in their raw, real, organic forms, and even that will be fun for a lot of you. So thanks a lot, guys, and we will see you around the corner.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Have a good weekend.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello?
Hey, Herb.
Hi, that one came out pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.